Some of these guys made 50 to 100% in an hour this morning. There's different ways of looking at a gap, okay? In the short term, a gap is previous close versus the open the next day, right? So if the SPY, which is the S&P, which is the market, right? Let's say it's trading here and it closed at 380, okay? And this was on Friday. And then the market opens here, okay, at 375, okay? This is now the gap, right? Where it was to where it dropped to, okay? This now becomes the gap. There's a gap, right? So we need to fill a gap. There's a hole, right? So whenever you want to fill a gap, you're looking at where there is an indentation or a hole or an area to fill, okay? So that's filling the gap, right? In the long term, it can be similar. So Twitter, let's take Twitter for example. Twitter, all right, was trading at $55 on Friday. The market closed, and then they announced that they are banning Trump. Investors are like, shit, we got to get out of the way, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where the outrage is. What if they ban more people? What if Trump does an executive order to take down Twitter? I'm taking my profit, I'm running. So this thing dropped all the way down here. Now, what's going to happen is some other crazy shit's going to happen in a week or two, and everyone's going to forget all about this. Trump's not even going to be president in a week and a half. Okay? Now, as an investor, I'm looking at this and saying, did Twitter banning Trump really justify them losing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in valuation in the long term? No. I think Twitter's a shit company. I think it's run completely incompetently by a bunch of emotional knee-jerk reaction people who make dumb decisions. But did their actual valuation as a company drop that much? No. This is a overreaction. Okay? So now you have a gap from 40, what was it this morning? From $45, okay, $10 a share. 20% of the entire equity valuation of this entire platform gone like that? No. So now the idea is we're going to play the gap up. And the reason I say the gap up is because I don't believe in Twitter long term. I don't think Twitter is a good company. I don't think they're going to be one of the powerhouses down the road. I think that they have a lot of changes that need to be made. But 45 to 55, okay, that's the gap. That's just filling it, just re-entering back to where the valuation was. Could it take a long time to get that gap? Sure. I don't think it's going to take that long because we're just in a crazy bull market and people are just desperate to buy anything they think is undervalued. But that's the gap right there, 45 to 55. Okay, we need to fill that gap. Absolutely 100% this morning, I was on board and I broke it down in the morning call. Remember, I didn't tell anybody to buy. I just told them what I thought. That there is no way we could justify a 20% of the company's valuation gone off of banning Trump. No, it's an overreaction. And people will forget all about this and will be back on the train. So it's not, I'm going to buy Twitter for the long term in this unless you believe it's a good company. It's just about playing that gap. And this is where the money is. If you're an equities player and you're short term, you're looking for a 10% return. Because remember, 20% down, it takes more for every 1% down to go back up to even. Okay, so as an equities player, you're looking for 5% return on the day. Options players, some of these guys made 50 to 100% in an hour this morning. And the fun point was that we actually identified exactly where it was going to pull back. We saw it start to peter out. The volume started to go down, and I told these guys, I'm not in this play, but if I was, that's my out right there on the day. And then it dumped, and now it's creeping right back up. So we're still trying to fill that gap. We made 50% of it already in this morning. Okay? So when you hear somebody say it needs to gap up or gap down, same thing. You could have it, a good news, do this. That's filling the gap. Okay? So that's what they mean by filling the gap. In today's market, with how bullish it is and how insanely dumb speculation has become, buying to fill the gap is one of the most five head plays right now. I'm currently doing that on a stock called SWI. Okay? SWI had a huge hack recently, okay? And FireEye got blamed. And we knew that FireEye was not to blame. This was an outrage sell. So we bought, or I bought, a lot of people in here also bought, to fill the gap on the upside because of outrage, right? Guess what? FireEye got not only found that they weren't at fault the next day, they ran 37% to their all-time high. And a lot of people in here made life-changing money that day. SWI, still down, and has been getting destroyed. However, we're waiting for a catalyst for it to move back up, right? We want investors to come back in. We want to be ahead of them, and we're looking for that catalyst. What is it that's going to help them start that move back up into the gap? They hired some consulting firms to give them a PR, facelift, and that's what they need right now. They need to prove to investors this won't happen again. Even though everybody knows it won't happen again, they need to prove it. After down 47%, I'm playing a gap up. Not the whole gap, but I'm playing a gap up as well. I'm giving myself till August to do that. So that is what filling the gap means. Oh, wow. Twitter fucking took off. I'm still waiting till end of day to buy the dip here, but if anybody bought the dip this morning, good play. Saki, I took Twitter after morning call. When do I sell? Bro, if you're scalping, just set a trailing stop loss. You're fucking perfect for a trailing stop loss. If you're scalping equities, you just set a 1% trailing stop loss on this bad boy, because 1% down from here is representing 46, right? So you just trail that stop loss all the way up. And then if you get stopped out and you want to go again, go again. How did you know Twitter would go up? It's not about knowing it's going to go up. So have you ever seen my video on monetizing outrage culture? I think Twitter's going to head back down at some point today. But you have to understand, I think from Twitter as a business standpoint, I think it's trash. I think it's absolute trash. I think it's run by a bunch of incompetent fucking children, okay? But outrage is outrage, okay? And when you're talking about something like this, yeah, they kicked Trump off the platform. There's a lot of investors are concerned about instability, and everybody's fleeing right now. However,
also welcome to fatherhood.
Oh, it's crazy. However, understand something. All this shit with Trump going on right now brings what? More people, because there's more engagement, more users, which means more ad revenue and more growth. On top of that, you have an entirely new government taking over, and all those goddamn Trump supporters are like, God damn it, if they taking off my president, I'm leaving the platform too. But those same people are going to have to come back when the goddamn libs take over and you got to shit on them on Twitter because I can't find out. It's not going anywhere. It's a fucking buy the dip opportunity. However, something to understand, okay, about this is that this is a gap up play only for me. This is not a long-term. I think long-term Twitter is absolute fucking trash as a company. They have the poison pill no matter what they touch. They're run by a bunch of overly emotional knee-jerk reaction, board of directors or whatever. So for me personally, if you are playing the outrage by the dip, it is only to $51. That's the gap you want to focus on. And then if you get there, you have to decide. For me, that would be my out position. I would not play it long. Sure, it could go all the way back up to 55. I don't know. But that's what this is how you play outrage, right? See right there? See how he said that he's going to pull back that 1% stop loss? That would have kicked your stop loss right there. Now, if it continues to fall down and you want to play again, you can buy back in. Wow. See? How did you know Twitter was going to go down? Okay, so the reason I didn't know that Twitter was going to pull back, but guys, for those of you guys that are new to this, or trying to understand what I'm doing or why, is that exactly what I just explained. Notice how volume is big and we're getting these good candles, these heavy candles on the upside, right? Lots of buyers holding on. Lots of buyers going on. All of a sudden, the volume starts to dip. Yo, Emmett, dude, thank you so much. All of a sudden, the volume starts to dip. Now, what does it mean when the volume starts to dip? It means there's not as many buyers, right? So if there's not as many people trying to buy, Then the people who've made profit are like, well, fuck, if I can't flip this for profit, whatever, maybe it's time to start dumping. Then you start seeing it flatline. That means that we've got an agreement. We've got an agreement of this is where I'm buying and this is where I'm selling. Nobody, when you see a candle this big, that means people are desperate to buy. They're buying market order. They're buying higher than the price right now. Nobody's haggling for a lower entry, right? People are just like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. High volume, big candles. Then you see volume start to dip, not as many people, and you start to see a little bit of consolidation, little flat candles, right? That's like, okay, now we're starting to like haggle, right? We're starting to haggle. That momentum is starting to slow down. So that gives you that out position, right? 5 candles in a row, dying volume, time to bail. Then you see the dip. Now, if volume starts to increase and we start seeing that upside again, we could go again. But for those of you guys who are day traders or scalpers, this is why I was telling you this right here, this channel, that gives you that out right there. Okay, and now we're seeing this pullback right now. Potentially could go again because we are seeing some volume start to pick up again. Okay.